Welcome to episode 27 of the Monsters of Geek podcast, and it's all about video games this week and a little bit of college football after a pretty crazy Saturday of college football. We're going to talk about that just a little bit, but our genius panel is here with us today. We have Andrew making a comeback, coming down the wrestling ramp to save us. Andrew, what's up, man?
Hey guys, what's going on?
Don't call it a comeback.
Daniel, what's up? Do we have Daniel here? Of course, our lawyer, because we got to make sure that we go by the rules. We don't want to upset anybody. Daniel, how you doing?
Good, man. I'm scared when I'm not here. I don't know what you all are going to say. I mean, it frightens me. It keeps me up at night a little bit. If I'm not here and you all have a podcast, I don't know.
I think you have like a spidey sense now when we do something when you're not on there.
Maybe.
And of course,
it didn't go off last week though. So
that's true. And of course, we have our resident wintery monster himself getting ready for the winter season as he continues to grow his winter coat. What's up, Joe?
Winter is coming.
All right, guys. Well, let's start off with some college football talk. Thank you guys, whoever's listening. Thank you guys for listening. Don't forget, we do want listener feedback. So if you have any questions, just like last week with our wrestling show, please email us at monstersofgeek@gmail.com with some viewers or listener questions, or if you're watching on YouTube, some viewer questions. So it's been a crazy Saturday. Jared's not here, but North Carolina had a big win as well, so we want to give them props. But I think we are all Tennessee fans here today. And what was a nail-biting win that may be the best finish in Tennessee history, minus the stumble fumble maybe because they won a national championship. So we'll see how this season goes. But down to Georgia, came back with a 43-yard Hail Mary pass, Dobbs to Jawan Jennings to get that victory today. Andrew, I think we were all going nuts. My voice, as you can hear, is super hoarse because I was running down the sidewalk like a madman, yelling, "He called it! He called it! He called it!" So, Andrew, set us up here, man? Because I was sitting there, and I'll tell my story here, man. But what was it like especially when we got the kickoff, we got a couple penalties. Did you think that we would win this game, or you think it was just a wash?
Well, it was pretty cool. Let's see. So it was Georgia's next to last possession, 2 minutes and something left, third down, and Malik Foreman gets an interception. And I had actually just started texting my old boss at work, who is a big Dobbins Bennett guy. Dobbins Bennett is a high school, local high school. It's about an hour away in Kingsport, Tennessee. And Malik Foreman is a walk-on from Dobbins Bennett, so he's always been excited about Foreman. So when he got the pick, he texted me. He was all excited. And we're like, "Yeah, that's awesome. That's great." It looked like Tennessee was going to, should be able to run out the clock. They've run the ball pretty well and get out of there with the win, but of course they didn't. So then, a few plays later, here comes Georgia, and they hit the bomb, and who let up on the play but Malik Foreman. So it was just kind of like, dang, that's a bummer. There were a few times I try to keep it kind of chill, especially because my wife is usually downstairs as well, not playing homework, doing homework because she's in graduate school. But there were a couple of times the sack fumble touchdown where I would get up and I had a blanket on my legs and the TV remote was on there and I would forget and it would fall on the floor and I'd be like, shoot. And then I would go do something. I'd come back and the interception, I get up and the remote falls in the floor again. And for the actual Hail Mary, I had no restraint at all, just jumping up and really just exciting the dogs. The dogs were barking at me. It was pretty awesome.
Daniel, you got a funny story. Tell your story about the Hail Mary.
Well, of course, first I thought it was over after they had, 2 straight turnovers. And then, Georgia threw that bomb and I was like, oh, well, whatever. So I'm getting ready to take my little girl up, give her a bath. And we're watching the last 4 seconds of the game. And I was just like, okay, we'll go upstairs. And I've got her just in my arm holding her. And of course I flip out too. I freak out. I'm jumping. I'm like using my one good hand to be like, just like going crazy. and she kind of just like looks both ways, just kind of looks around, and all of a sudden she just goes, "Yay!" Just kind of claps a little bit, because But it was pretty great. It was a fun game to watch, and those are the types of games that Tennessee has not been able to pull out for several years.
I said the same thing. Yeah.
All this season, they've found ways to win, even though they've started slow. And that's the difference. That's the difference between good teams and teams that are just okay, is they find ways to win games like that. And you got to get lucky. Top tier teams have to get lucky. They have to catch breaks, and they have to have some miracles every now and again.
Joe, you got a good one too. I think we all got pretty good stories here because we all did not expect this. Joe, tell your story.
So I do game days usually with my best friend at his mom's house and his stepdad's house, and they pause the game during halftime so they can fast forward through the commercials. So he's about 3 minutes behind, and his sister calls. We're like, no, we can't answer it because she's not running the game for us. So we get the strip sack, and then Georgia's driving the ball and down the field, and they throw the long pass, score, 10 seconds left, and something happens where the remote falls, and when it falls, it hits the corner of the couch, and it pushes the button, and it changes the channel. So it erases everything that are re-recorded, and we're like, what happened? What happened? I say that as my camera is turning, if you're not watching the podcast, but yeah, it's like, what the crap? Like, what happened? We was all mad. Like, we all got up, just stormed out of the room, like, we don't know what happened. And somebody looked it up, and it was like, we won. And we're like, this makes it worse.
Oh my goodness.
So we learned the lesson that we're going to start not only if they pause it, but recording it. So if something does happen like that, we can watch the recording. But yeah, it's 3 minutes behind, and his sister's calling, and I answer. It's like, 3 minutes behind. And she's like, well, okay. And I FaceTime her because she wants to get the reaction. She got a whole different reaction than what she expected to get.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, I should say that I was at the Florida game last week. So I was
really?
I was in house for that whole, comeback and all that, and that was really exciting. And but because I was there, my wife, who did not go, decided to watch while she worked on homework, because that's what she does. And so she's texting me in the second half and saying, because she doesn't really care. Well, for one, she's more of a Kentucky fan because she's a Kentucky girl, but she also just doesn't really care about football. So she's texting me in the second half, and she's got it on in the background. Is this Dobbs guy new? What about Jennings? He seems pretty good. Hurd, is he new? Just like all this. And so finally today she had to work, but she came home for the second half. So when it happened, she's sitting there and she's excited too. And she said, I actually am starting to say go Big Orange now, just because she's getting on the hype train. She's starting to believe, although I'm not. I don't feel good about the next 2 weeks, but we might as well enjoy this ride while it lasts, right?
Right.
Hey, I left last week. I watched when it was, I guess it was 21-3.
Yeah,
21-0.
Yeah, well, I guess when I stopped watching it was 21-3. I went out of town.
Oh, okay.
We had stuff to do, and I checked my phone 2 hours later, and it was 38-28. And I was like, "What happened?" I thought for sure I was like looking at a different year's game or something like that.
I didn't. My dad and I was watching it, and he had a lasagna dinner that he had to go to at the church, and he was mad when he left because it was 21-3. He looked horrible, and I was like, "I'm gonna go downstairs and play video games." And I came down here, and I sat on the couch. I was like, "Man, I can't stop watching that game just because that makes me a bad fan if I stop watching it." And I turned it back on, and all of a sudden he scored 35 straight points. I'm like, all right, yeah, that's okay.
Today, my story was that when they threw that bomb for that score, after almost getting sacked, you got to give Eason big credit on that because he about got sacked on that play. But he threw it deep, and obviously Foreman stopped. I don't know what happened. Some people say he stopped on the play. I know Dante Stallworth said on Twitter that he didn't know where the ball was because he obviously, you're in coverage for a long time, so you kind of figure out something's going on. And when he turned to look back at the play, that's when the receiver kind of took off. And so I don't think it's a lack of effort play. It was just I think he was trying to figure out, okay, this is going way too long. I got to make sure nothing's going on behind me, and well, he got burnt. So my wife, Shauna, who's a big Tennessee fan, she was just sick, and I'm sitting there like, I can't believe this just happened. And she said, turn it off. She said, I can't watch it. And I said, no, let's just wait. And it was about that time they got the penalty on the unsportsmanlike conduct. So, well, that pins them back pretty good. I said, we'll get a good kick out of this. Maybe Barry can do something. So Barry got it and took it up across midfield, a little bit over midfield, and they got a 5-yard penalty. I thought, well, that makes it a little bit easier. And so I was sitting there, and Sean was like, I don't know. I just don't want to watch. I said, well, we got 10 seconds left. Let's see what happens. And Dobbs threw the best ball. I mean, I don't know. That may have been the tightest spiral he's done all year. Just a beautiful pass. And I as soon as the camera panned towards the end zone, I noticed Jennings had pretty much boxed everybody out. And I don't know if it's the stupidity of the Georgia defensive backs playing behind the ball or what, but he jumped up. I thought, and it was in his hands, and he came down, and I just went berserk. I ran outside, ripped through the door, and my dog's sitting there, and here I am flying. And I'm sure his thought was, man, I ain't seen him move like that in years. And so I jumped the steps, and I'm running. He caught it. And my neighbor jumped out his door, and he goes, he did. So here we are, two crazy people screaming up and down the street over a football game. But, man, and then I got back in, and I felt like I pulled a rib or something because I was like, man, I'm out of shape, but I don't care. And it was just unbelievable. I think, Daniel makes a good point. We're all longtime Tennessee fans. And we've been through the doldrums of the Dooley era, Lane Kiffin leaving us, the way we, unceremoniously fired Phil Fulmer. It's just kind of like a curse that was lingering over, kind of lingering over us. And, for longtime fans, it's kind of stuck around. I mean, when I was a kid, Tennessee was always, only lost 1 or 2 games, if that. We always won 10 games. And so to go through this period of just, deadness, like it's just, we even, the Dooley eras, we got our butt kicked, and then first couple of years of Butch, we couldn't keep the lead, and we would lose a close game. And just the last couple of weeks, be able to come back and win those close games. I mean, I told Shauna, I was like, this is a reward for the longtime fans that's kind of stuck around and hadn't complained as much, but was still, going into the team. I told let's see, what did I tell you before the show, Daniel? Now I totally forgot. I keep thinking I'm going to wake up and it'll be Saturday tomorrow because I still can't. I still can't kind of comprehend what just happened. But just to see your team do that, man, I've seen Hail Marys before. I'm like, oh, man, what a play. But to see, that's the first time I've ever seen a Hail Mary for a team to win the game for a team that I super care about. So that was pretty cool.
Let me ask you this.
I've got a great mental image of you doing the Hulk Hogan, like tearing your shirt off as you're running out, as you're like out in your yard, just.
On a side note, I almost had a mini panic attack because this shirt was not washed, and I had wore it every week, and we're 4-0. And so last night around 2 a.m., I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't wash that shirt, so I had to get up and wash the shirt so it'll be ready for today because I almost had like a meltdown at 2 a.m. because I didn't have my shirt clean.
That stuff. I thought you're not supposed to wash. I thought you're not supposed to wash that kind of thing.
Well, I've washed it and we still won. So as long as I wear it every week, I'm fine. So it's been washed, so that's not it.
Two things. One, when I was in 8th grade and played baseball, I had a Matty Mouse shirt that I would always wear underneath my jersey. And we went on a win streak, and I didn't wash it for like 3 weeks. And 2, you said that you think you're going to wake up and it'll be Saturday. If you were to get in a groundhog effect, would you rather watch this play or the fumble at Arkansas in 98?
Ooh. I think that stumble fumble is still my number 1 play because it was the same thing. Everybody had stopped watching it, and I was kind of the only one in the room watching it when it happened. And plus, we won a national title that year. So that's still number 1 as far as like the luckiest things that ever happened to a championship team.
I'm not saying you don't know what happens after. Like if you were to make
if
up,
it's just a game, singular game, we don't know if we won a championship.
Yeah.
I think if it's just a singular play, I think it's the Hail Mary.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
What about you, Daniel? Stumble, fumble, or Hail Mary?
I don't know. I'm still on too much of a high from seeing this one. I think I need a few days to come back down before I can answer that.
Andrew, you got to answer that.
Well, my problem is I was just a little young, and I didn't actually. I wasn't even home to see the stumble fumble. I was 10 years old, and I didn't see it live. I really only came to understand what happened, or really, I guess, came to know what happened. Well, it's probably been 10 years now since I came to understand that. But so for me personally, personal moments, this one wins. But I probably the stumble fumble is a more miraculous play. You see Hail Marys, we see one a week probably. You don't see. They should just be kneeling the ball, and somehow everything that happened with the stumble fumble. So. Yeah, I would say the stumble fumble, I guess. And one thing I do want to point out, and this is a little anti-Tennessee fan, so sorry, but Jacob Eason it's terrifying me. That dude is a beast.
Andrew, I said the same thing when everything got calmed down. I looked at Sean and I was like, "Man, I hope Eason gets real good and leaves his junior year because I don't know if I could watch this kid play us for the whole 4 years."
He is trouble.
All right, so as you see, big win for Tennessee. Hopefully, we can continue. We got tough next couple games coming up at Texas A&M. We got number 1 Bama coming in the next week, so could be a start of a miraculous season. And if we can just make it to the SEC championship game, I'll be happy as a lark. All right, so great lead in because the next question, I think Daniel, or not Daniel, but Andrew had a great question for us, and it's something me and Joe always talk about. So this is pretty easy here, but. Andrew, go ahead and introduce your question.
Okay, so on the back of that big comeback win for Tennessee, I started thinking about comeback moments that I've had in video games, since we are talking about video games this week. Because I didn't really have a topic, and so I was on the high from the win, so it's just kind of on my mind. So I guess the way I tried to frame it, and I don't know if it came across in text well, is what's the closest to death you've been in a game where you didn't die, or I know a lot of us are old, or not. Well, I guess it's kind of old school now. NCAA football, video game fans. Your greatest comeback, in an NCAA game, because I played a ton of it. I know you guys, a couple of you guys did too. I don't know if Daniel did, but I know Joe and Aaron did. So that's my question. Either your greatest football comeback or just like the closest to death you've been without actually dying kind of comeback moment in a game.
Joe, go ahead with yours.
Well, I think my brother can say that I've always used underdogs when I start my dynasties in NCAA. And which year was that? Was it was it 2000? Was it 08?
Which one are you going?
The Harvard.
Yeah, it was 08. Yeah,
it's the last one that we owned on the regular Xbox.
Yeah, and
I took Harvard and put them in the ACC, and I made me up as a quarterback, but I was only like a 70 because I was a freshman. I wanted to build myself up, and my first year we faced Florida State in the ACC championship. And I had to, it was like maybe 30 seconds left. And I scrambled. And I was looking downfield to make a throw, but nobody was open. And I scrambled 60 yards for the game-winning touchdown.
Nice.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was one of those times that you look back now and say, man, I wish I had stuff to record that with on my system, because it was like, oh my God, that's awesome.
Joe's Harvard run was pretty amazing. Only second to his Duke run of 2010 that he took. How many years did you take that?
Oh, in 2010, I went 30 years.
Yeah, you even bought the game over to continue.
I did to continue, yeah. Yeah.
Daniel, what was your greatest comeback that you can remember?
I can't think of you guys know I play a lot of RPGs. I can't think of a specific time or that I would have was close to dying and just managed to win. I know I've gotten in my head all the times that I fist pumped because I was so excited that exact thing happened, but I can't remember them specifically. But what you were all talking about, as far as a sports game come back, I do remember that I was playing with a friend of mine, and we were playing. I think it was Madden. I think it would have been 07 or 08, and he was up 6 points on me, and time was running out, and I think I threw maybe a comeback route, and I managed to shake the defender and ran 50 yards for the touchdown. So all I needed to do was kick the extra point to win the game. And, I was talking trash, and it wasn't that long ago. I mean, this was I was probably 22 at the time. And I can remember it. And I don't know, I haven't played Madden in a while, but you had to push the right stick back and then push it up.
Yeah.
Is it still the system? Okay. So
I changed it this year, but it was a system for a long while.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was the system at the time. I line it up, I get ready, and he just smacks the controller out of my hand right when I hike it, and I flipped out. And so I still count that one as a win, but he got a big kick out of that.
That's messed up.
That
is messed up.
I actually got a recent one.
That's worth unfriending someone for.
Exactly right, man. Don't ever come over my house again, okay? Ever. That was messed up.
Anymore. It's official.
Yeah.
I'm not even following you on Twitter.
I got a recent one from this year's Madden, actually. That happened just 2 nights ago. Me and my friend done a fantasy draft in this year's Madden, and I have Jay Cutler as my quarterback and Derrick Henry as my running back. And so I can run the ball all the time because my offensive line is all 90s, and it's built for the run. Derrick Henry got hurt, and my backup running back couldn't move the ball. And we came back from 21 down, and it was I was down by 3 in the fourth quarter with 40 seconds left, and drove from my 20 to on their side of the field to their 30, and and I was gonna run the ball just to tie it up and go in overtime, and the corners started coming in, and I knew that they were blitzing, and I called an audible and for Josh Dobson to run a flat route, and I lobbed it up with Cutler, and he scored, and we won the game.
Nice.
Yeah.
Mine was, I had a couple of them, and I'll touch on this one first. One of my best franchise, or one of my best dynasties, was Tennessee in the 2010, which would have been, I think, Eric Berry's sophomore year or junior year. I can't remember. But I'd won the Heisman with him because I had 22 sacks. Because that was when you could lock a player.
2010, Aaron?
2010, yeah, I think so.
That would be his senior year.
Okay, so it must have been 20. It must have been 08. Yeah, last one for the Xbox. That's right. Last one for the Xbox.
Okay.
And my defense was amazing, and I'd held the computer to under 7 points for the whole game or for the whole season. And so we come in. I'm undefeated SEC championship game. I'd won the Heisman with Eric Berry, and mostly on sacks. I think I had 22 sacks because that's when you could lock the player, and basically you would just I didn't care what happened. I'd just rush him almost every time. And I got a bunch of tackles for losses. LSU came out and was beating me 21-0 at half. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't throw the ball, couldn't run the ball, and it was just crazy. And so I came back and actually won the game in the last seconds. It was 21-21 forever, and had a huge drive to score. That's my memory of the best, against the computer type stuff. But against someone else, I think Joe's kind of touched on it once. Our cousin Barker used to beat the tar out of me in NCAA, and it was NCAA 90. Was it 97, right, Joe? 97?
No, it was 98.
98, okay. NCAA Football 98 for the PlayStation 1 had Danny Warfel on the front. In fact, I actually got a copy of that game in my collection just because that was my first NCAA football game. And he used to play as Nebraska, and that's when they had that power running game. So they had they had Scott Frost, and they had not Lawrence Phillips, Ahmed Green, big offensive line, and Joe Makovica. And he used to kill me with them. I'd be so close, a halftime be tied or something. And in the second half, he would just kill me. So I picked Syracuse, and I had Donovan McNabb. And he a little bit more mobile, and I could do some stuff. So I was actually in the lead with about, I would probably say a minute and a half left, and he drives it downfield in the fourth quarter, and he got down the 1 yard line, and I think I want to say I was up by 3 because he wasn't playing for the tie, he's playing for the win, and had about 15 seconds left, and he calls a run play to Joe Makovica, and I stuff him up the middle, and he starts to go outside, and my safety I just clicked on, I hit the dive button, and I literally stopped him. He was laying parallel to the horizontal to the 1 yard line when I hit him, and he couldn't get the other play off. And you think that I'd won $1 million or something. And I was only, 7th, 8th grade, yeah, I guess 8th grade. And I was going nuts. And every time he would run the ball, he'd say, Joe Makovica, Joe Makovica. So I jumped up in his face like, Joe Makovica, Joe Makovica. And just, I don't think talking to him the rest of the day, but man, that's probably the best win I've ever had, because I had played him he had come in for Christmas. I had played him, Joe, like 20 times during that break or whatever, and just could not beat him. And I finally beat him. I was like, I'm not playing anymore. I'm done. No more. Joe Makovica. And I just ran out of the room. That was probably my best comeback ever. So, Andrew, what's yours, man?
So I'll do a couple too, because I was just going to do one story in particular, but since you guys told a couple of man versus computer stories, I'll share a couple of those. So one time, I think it was NCAA 05. I always used the dynasty with Tennessee. I think I told you guys this before, and I would build them up into, number one every time, unstoppable force, and then switch to Vanderbilt because Vanderbilt sucks, and then go and win with them. But I think I was still playing with Tennessee, and for some reason, my style of play, I guess because I tried to juke and spin a lot, if it was raining, I would fumble a lot, and it was really hard for me to break that mindset, just go out of bounds, live for another play, that kind of thing, because I wanted to kill the computer. I just did, as we all do. But I was playing at Mississippi State in Starkville in 05, in NCAA 05, and it was just a sloppy game. Like I said, a lot of fumbles. It was raining, and I scored to go ahead. I think I kicked a field goal to go ahead, and I thought, okay, I got it, and just trust my defense and get out of here with the win. Well, they bust a play and get down close enough for a field goal with very little time left, and I'm thinking, shoot. So I call field goal block, and as soon as I see that I didn't block it, I just dropped my head, and it was like, lost. And I hear the ball hit the upright and go, and they missed the fit. I was like, yes! It was pretty great. It was a good feeling. I couldn't believe I couldn't believe it. It was pretty great. Also in NCAA 07, I had two defenses that I ran. I would always I played Rex Ryan ball. I blitzed 2 linebackers and played straight up man to man all the time, which means that if you don't get the sack, you give up a lot of busted plays. So I did that a lot. And a lot of times I'd go down 14-0, 21-0 a couple times. One time I went down 24-0 against Georgia, and had a friend that would come over a lot after. He was in college. I was like a senior in high school. He'd come over after school, and we'd play NCAA. And he comes over, and I'm down 24-0. He's like, dude, you just have to turn this off and start over. I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm a man of integrity. and besides that, I was like, nah, dude, it's fine. I do this all the time. I'll come back and win. Don't worry about it. So Georgia gets down there right before half, and I block the field goal and take it back for a touchdown. They were trying to kick a field goal right before half. So I go in down at half 24-7, and then I return the opening kickoff of the second half for a touchdown. So it was 24-14, and I think I ended up winning, like 35-24 or something like that. That was just a nice extended comeback win that I enjoyed. My favorite comeback ever, my favorite miracle play ever from NCAA, I was playing the friend that I just referenced, and it was 07 again, I'm pretty sure. And we bounced around a lot. I think 07 was one of the years that Oklahoma was vastly overrated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember that.
So I used them. I always based who I expected to use based on who I figured would be the most hyped coming into the year, and I knew they were going to have, which they did have, Adrian Peterson and Bradford and a pretty good defense. So anyway, I believe I was using Oklahoma, although he might have been. It was Oklahoma and Georgia. I don't remember who was who, but I'm pretty sure I was Oklahoma. And he scored with basically, I want to say like 3 seconds left. And so he's got to kick off to me, but that's basically it. Or so he thought. He thought he was just going to stop the kick return and it would be over. But I fair caught the kickoff. Well, he kicked it to about the 3, but because I fair caught it, I get, one play at least. So I fair catch the kickoff. And 07, I used to really mess with his head a lot because you could play mind games with this guy. So I would hot route. I'd go 5 wide and just hot route every play or every receiver. Just basically make my own plays by doing 5 wide sets and just really messing with his head. And so I started doing that and bouncing people around. And every time you hot route, it zooms out. And then once you set it, it zooms back in. And all that was messing with him. And so he starts trying to do coverage audibles to counter my hot routes. And he accidentally does press coverage in an obvious Hail Mary situation. And as soon as I see that, I snap the ball. I throw a bullet to the outside. My receivers just barely slip by the defender. And I'd score like a 97, 99-yard touchdown with no time left. It was pretty amazing. And I think 07 was, if it wasn't 07, then it was whichever game had the do you remember the great score, the great game score?
Yep, I remember that. Yep.
I tried to look it up before. I couldn't figure out what year it was. I think it was 07, but anyway, it got like it basically broke that great game score meter because it was basically just like the Georgia game today. It had the last second touchdown followed by a Hail Mary for the win. It's pretty awesome.
Hey.
I have a funny one with Joe is that him and his buddy Caleb, I had a multi-tap, and they played on the same team. I don't know who you were, Joe. I can't remember. I was Oregon, I remember. It was the one with Joey Harrington on the front of it. I can't remember which year that was. 03, okay. And he so they was up big. I think he was beating me like 24-0 or 28-0 or something like that. It is a pretty lopsided score. So I come out second half, and I'm coming back, and I end up tying the score. And they ended up driving down and kicking a field goal or going. You guys were up like 2 or 1 or something like that. And so they started running to my kicker on purpose. So I would. So then they did it from like I guess the half of the third quarter on or whatever. So I line up for a field goal. I line up for a field goal for the win, and they run into me and they blow my ACL. Okay, blow my ACL. This is about the beginning of the fourth quarter. Okay, they done it all game, so they blow my kicker's ACL. I don't have a backup kicker. Like I don't have a backup kicker, so I drop downfield and I have to kick with my running back. So my running back's the backup kicker, and I fail miserably. Like he kicks it like 10 yards, but all I can remember for like a whole half is them just running into my kicker constantly. Boom, 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 until they hurt my kicker. And it was a game that didn't matter because we kept scoring back and forth. So he just every play, extra point, kicker hit. If I go for a field goal, kicker hit. And finally it was like your kicker blew your ACL. Here's your running back. So I was like, holy crap! And that was one of the funniest because we all kind of laughed about it at the end because it was they were just nuisances on the field that whole game, and it was just really funny. So that's one of the games that I kind of laugh about now, but I was kind of mad then. But
like if I recall it right, like we wouldn't touch anybody on the line, and we would jump off sides and come around. So when
that's true. Where you wouldn't get rough
right there.
Yeah.
So we would hit the kicker when he goes to kick it.
Terrible, just terrible.
Hey, I was not telling the story about how I ran a 50-yard touchdown with Chris Winkie in Game Breaker and won the game against you that time too.
Yeah, that year where Chris Winkie was black and T. Martin was white.
Yeah, no, that wasn't in NCAA. This was in Game Breaker.
Oh yeah, it was Game Breaker, wasn't it? No, it was NCAA. It was NCAA.
Was it?
Yeah, because he was on the PS2. Yeah.
That makes it even worse for you because Chris Winkie was not that fast.
All right. Just some really as you can see, we are all very sad that NCAA football went away. And hopefully one day it'll be back because that was our football game. I actually bought the new Madden. It's pretty good, actually. But it's been years since I've actually felt like a Madden kind of met what NCAA did. It still doesn't do it. I still have NCAA 14. I'll play it every so often because it's such a great football game. So we're all very sad the NCAA is not around if EA is listening. Come on, man. Come on.
Come on, man. Did I tell you that I don't know if I'm supposed to tell this or not, but I talked to somebody the other day through my work, and apparently, like, his friends are getting like the permission to pretty much use the likenesses, like the numbers and stuff, and paying the players like $10 or something like that, or $100 for each video game that they're in. I don't know if it's true or not, but
I'll take that with a grain of salt.
yeah, I mean, it kind of got my hopes up. I'm like, don't break my heart, dude. Don't tell me this, and it's not gonna happen. Like,
for our listeners, this is what happens when you want something to happen really, really badly.
You believe anything. All right. I'll go with my question next, since we won't do another episode before Halloween, or at least a video game episode before Halloween. With Halloween right around the corner, what is the scariest game you ever played? Now, I ended up kind of fixing this a little bit. It can either be the scariest game or maybe a moment in a game that scared you the most. Because I mean, there's some games where, an RPG or something, you get in a situation like, man, this is kind of creepy, or maybe a boss fight that kind of creeped you out or something. Joe, actually, Daniel, we'll start with you this time.
Skip me this time. Let me think about it a minute.
Okay, Andrew, go ahead.
Okay, so I'm a chicken, so I don't play scary games. But I know the most tense I've ever felt playing a game is definitely through the clicker sections of The Last of Us.
Yes.
Yes. And okay, I got my answer now.
It's just tense, is what it is. I can remember, first of all, the first time I played through it, I had to play it. And usually I can squeeze in a marathon here and there, but I had to play that one in 2-3 hour segments because I would just get so tired, really, from just how tense I felt playing through, sneaking around. As you play more, you get kind of used to that feeling and get over it. But it was so tense, and I don't remember any section specifically that scared me more than others. But I can just remember once you finally get out of all the clickers, probably the best example is when you go to the Eastern Colorado University, which doesn't exist, but I think that's what it was called in the game. When you're in the university section and you're in the dorms and it's just clickers everywhere and there's a bloater blocking a door, and just how tense it was, and I could just feel myself once I got out of there. I physically felt myself relax, just like, whew, I feel better.
Yeah,
it was such a good game.
That's the same like level where, well, never mind. I don't want just in case somebody else says this, so I'm not going to do it.
Spoiler.
And I also felt it's a different feeling, and I'm just going to go ahead and spoil this 2-year-old game now if you haven't played Gone Home. But you feel that way in Gone Home as well. It turns out that there's nothing to be scared of, but just that feeling of coming home to a place you've never been and the lights are off, and it was tense. Again, it wasn't scary, but it was just like, what if when I turn the lights on, everybody's dead in here and the killer's just sitting there with his legs crossed waiting to kill me next? You just don't know. Right. And that's probably the most tense I've ever had experience wise.
Yeah, I say we've all beat The Last of Us, and played it. And what a masterpiece that is. Talk about ending on a high note for the PlayStation 3. But that game, and I'm with you, Andrew. There would be times where I would have to pause it and set the controller down. Like I would physically have to just set it down and just sit there for a second until I could. Maybe I was in the middle of a level with a bunch of clickers, or maybe using a level with a bunch of humans, which is sometimes when you even more tense when the humans are there. But I would have to set it down because my body, because of how tense, like you said, my shoulders would get tense, my shoulders would start hurting, and my back would start hurting, and I'd have to sit down and just be like, okay, I'm going to have to set this controller down for a second, because if not, I'm going to be hurting really bad here in a minute.
Yeah, I mean, after the first, 15 minutes of gameplay and cinematic, after that, I literally turned it off, and it took me 2 days just to turn it back on after the opening segment. I was like, I don't know if I can play this game or not.
I think at one point we all questioned whether or not we should continue in that game because of how tense it was. But man, Andrew, good pick, man. That game, there's so many moments in that game that's just just absolutely just tense worthy.
I've been feeling like replaying it lately, and
Me
this
too.
isn't going to help. And actually, part of it is because quick plug, even though our listeners won't hear this, so this is really just for you guys. There's a free PS4 theme right now. It's one of the dynamic themes, so it has music and motion in the background and stuff. And I've just sat there while Jesse was doing homework again, and we were, waiting on her to get to a place where we could have Netflix on in the background and just sit there and listen to the music. It's just so soothing. It's not soothing when you're playing because you're so tense and freaked out. But
so it's a Last of Us thing?
Yes. It's I think this week was supposed to be the breakout day, like from the game, the actual date when the breakout first happened. And so they had, it's been on sale, and there was a free theme and a couple other things that they've done this week to kind of promote it, I guess.
I think there are games that kind of go off topic for a second. I think there are games like that people's like, oh, we need a sequel. I would be perfectly fine if they never made another Last of Us. That game was so, and I mean, there were some issues with it, here or there, but really, I mean, that was almost a perfect game. Like, it utilized the PS3 to its full capacity with graphics and what you could do with the with the engine that they were using, and it's almost, I mean, that game is almost perfect. And I don't think that you could ever do a sequel that would make it any better, unless you did something completely different, like off from that main story and did another story. But that was just, I mean, there's so many parts in there we could talk about, but I don't want to go off to a subject. But I really don't. I hope we never see a sequel to that game.
We will.
I know we will at some point, but
remember that thing we just talked about where you want so bad for something to happen that you believe in anything.
Right. Yep. That's it. Yep. There seems to be a theme in this episode. Daniel, what's your craziest, scariest, or tense moment?
Well, I'm right there with you all. As soon as you mentioned The Last of Us, I was like, of course. How could I not think of The Last of Us?
I don't know.
But that whole game is just, I mean, it had to have those breaks, like with the awesome scene with the giraffe and stuff like that, just to give your heart a second to, But the one part that I remember from that game that just still on me, and I don't know if we talked about it on here or not, but I've talked about it recently. It was where you're like down in like a basement or something.
Oh, I was just thinking about the basement in the hotel.
The hotel. Okay. So you got to turn on the generator and then like haul up, upstairs. And like I think that is the reason, that one part right there is the reason I've never went back and played that game, because it was so terrifying. But so that would be my one. That would definitely be my one. But another one that I just happened to think of was in Resident Evil 4. And have you guys played Resident Evil 4?
Mm-hmm. Yep,
I have. I didn't finish it though.
I never will. Go ahead.
It's early it's kind of early in the game, but there's a scene where you have to like go into you're in a cabin by yourself, I think. And there's like zombies coming from each like 3 windows up the steps, and like you were just doing whatever you can just to survive for like a certain amount of time. And it took me several tries to do that, but that was another scene that was just had my heart really going.
That was the first time I can remember like a big crowd of zombies coming at you, like not just from like separate sections, because I think it's made to play where the game it makes you go upstairs, so you're shooting, you're just like, holy crap, I gotta go upstairs. Then all of a sudden they bust through the door and there's just all of them coming up the steps. It's the first time I've ever seen like a group, like there was like what 10 or 15, and this is on the GameCube, so it's like 10, 15, 16 zombies coming at you, and you're just at the steps. I remember that, man. That was one of the first scenes. I was like, I'm not a big Resident Evil fan. 4 is probably the only Resident Evil game that I've played and I liked. But man, that was a good one, Danny. That was a pretty tense there.
And that's probably the first game. That's probably the first game that could actually handle a scene like that.
Yep.
I can't remember a game doing something like that. Probably because it couldn't do that yet.
Probably not till like what's the game for Xbox, the zombie game, Dead Rising.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
That was probably the only one that I can remember, and that was on the GameCube. Like people talk about the GameCube, but that's pretty powerful stuff coming from that little machine. So it was pretty neat.
The GameCube was the most powerful console of that generation. It just didn't have any games.
It just didn't have any games. Yeah, I agree. Yep.
I
as far as
think
hardware
don't quote
wise.
me on that. I'm not a hardware person, but I've heard that said before.
Because I thought it had like 2 AMD Radeon cards in it. I may be wrong on that, but
Dude, you're talking to the wrong person. I don't even know what that means.
Yeah, it was a
It sounds
graphics
impressive. It
I'm
sounds
impressed.
impressive.
I'm
That's all that
impressed. Yeah.
I'm glad I didn't say that one then, because Daniel was actually said what I was going to say about it. So, because that
Well,
scene,
I mean, it was just terrifying. It was
yeah,
terrifying.
like you walk down in the basement, you don't expect anything, and then boom, it's right there. You're like, oh god, and you have to like run back and try and find your way out. It's more terrifying the second time you do it.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I will not do it again.
I actually had a much easier time with that section the second time I played it. I don't know why, but I don't know. I don't know why, but I did much easier time.
I'm like, when it comes to stuff like that, I like to torture myself, and I'll turn like the lights on my TV real low, and I'll be in the dark and everything. So it's really hard for me to see what's going on around me. So I'll panic, and I'm like, I can't find my way out, and this thing's chasing me. But,
Joe, what about yours, man?
well,
After Daniel took yours, did you have another one?
yeah, I mean, I play a lot of these games. I enjoyed them. Fatal Frame had a couple of them where you just where you took pictures, and then all of a sudden, a ghost would pop up like right in front of you. And you had to fight it, and just all you had was a flashlight and a camera, and you had to get the perfect picture, because if you didn't, that means the ghost is going to get closer to you. And the closer you got to the ghost, the better the picture. So you were always trying to find that perfect balance of how close can I get? How close can I get, and how close is too close. So that was always kind of jumpy at me. And then I think recently PT, the little playable trailer for the game that we won't ever get, unfortunately, made me throw my controller in fear, which don't happen a lot, but
I'd like to see that.
it was, like I didn't expect that to happen. And then one to kind of throw off, of just like the hordes on your Uncharted, the first Uncharted, when you're in the temple.
Oh yeah.
And like you're going around like, oh, this game, I find old and artifacts, and that's all. And then all of a sudden, you have to deal with zombies. like where did this come from? Like they came from nowhere. No,
I think it might have been all of our reaction to Uncharted 1. You're like, wait a minute, zombies?
Yeah, it was weird.
Hey, Nazi zombies, not just any zombies.
yeah. It came from nowhere. Like where'd they come from?
One of the creepier things in that game when you go in the submarine and there's like blood everywhere and you're trying to figure out what's going on, and that was a pretty creepy scene.
And another, I don't know if y'all have ever played it, and Bob, I'll tell you never to play it if Dead Space was you playing Dead Space the way you done and screamed like a little girl. Alien Isolation, like the new one from PS4.
Oh yeah,
I've heard it.
Down.
It's a really fun game because you just hide from an alien and you try not to get caught. And
that sounds exhilarating.
Oh my god, it is because you have to do certain things that progress the story, and all this time you're trying to hide from just one alien and sometimes you know where it is, sometimes you don't. So it's pretty fun.
Hey, this is more of a joke answer, but it was legit back in the day. And you remember in Mario 64? Have you guys all played Mario 64?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, well, you just lost points for the first time with me.
I'm sorry. I didn't have a 64 back then though, so
get a DS, play the DS version. It's not as good, but it's good enough. But anyway, so you guys remember World 5, the Big Boo's Mansion or whatever it was called, right?
Yep.
So you remember it was out in like that, basically in the backyard of the castle, right? Yeah, you open the door and you can either go down the stairs to the basement, or you can go down the hallway and go out to where the ghost is. If you don't remember, it's not that big a deal. But down that hallway, there was a ghost that you would chase because it would run away from you to the outside, and then you go into this courtyard, and that's where there were a bunch of ghosts, and you killed one of them, and it would have this little like bird cage in it, and that was the level. Like it would suck you into it, and that's how that worked. Well, when I was a kid, 8, 9 years old, Mario 64 was new. I was scared of the ghost, so I wouldn't play that. Like I was so scared of it even being there that I didn't even know there was a level out there, because I would just run as quickly as I could to the basement to go down and play Hazy Maze Cave and all those other levels. But I was just such a scaredy kid that I couldn't even face a Boo in Mario, who, by the way, are scared of you. Like that's the whole point. I didn't even know that level existed for probably the first year that I had Mario 64.
Daniel, my wife, just jumped on chat and said, I've even played that.
Well, I was the only one in the group of my friends that didn't have an N64 like growing up. Now I have an N64 now, but I just never got back around to playing Mario. And of course, I was never any good at Mario anyway. So
same boat here.
Brutal.
Mine is that is kind of like Andrew not seeing Ghostbusters though. Like I can say I've never beat Mario 64, but I've got pretty far in it.
Dude,
but I suck at games, so that's probably why I didn't do it. But you should really invest in that, Daniel.
Okay.
Yeah, the price is the N64 stuff's starting to go up. So if you're looking for a cart, you better get it now because it's starting to go up in price a little bit.
I have one you can borrow.
There you go. There you go.
I might even have it. I might even have it stowed away somewhere because I know I've got several carts for N64. I'm not sure if I've got that one or not. I'm sure I could find it at G2K though.
Hey,
Yeah,
so why are 64 games going up? Is it just because it's getting older?
It's just that generation. Yeah, that generation that grew up with his 64 is now starting to want a 64 again. It's the same thing with the Super Nintendo's going through the roof, and it has been forever because our age is wanting to go back and get Super Nintendo games like I do. So it's according to. I'm not a huge 64 fan. I don't think it's the best system in the world. I don't think there's a lot of good games on it. But yeah, it's starting to go up because that generation's starting to get money they can blow on stuff. So, so mine, Joe alluded to it. There's no doubt in my mind that the Dead Space series has scared me more times than any game. I have a fear of being stuck in space by myself. And I know that's a weird fear, right? I mean, it's never going to happen. It's never going to happen. I watch Alien, and I am just absolutely I know it's fake, but it's just like, man, I start thinking about being in that space station by myself with or without anything, and I just start flipping out. I start freaking out. So Dead Space, if you don't know the premise, you're an engineer, you're not a military guy or whatever. You're sent to this space station that has sent an SOS out. And basically there's this thing called necromorphs, which are basically bust out of people, kind of like an alien and a zombie kind of put together, sort of. And you got to shoot their limbs off. This is a game that I thought was really cool because instead of shooting headshots, you had to shoot limbs off. So the more limbs that you shot off, the weaker it got. So you could blow two legs off, and it made it weaker than say me blast it in the face with a shotgun or something. And your guy plays like an engineer, so he's not like this superhero type dude. Like you are running a lot. And you are missing shots because you're learning with him on how to combat in this game, which is really cool. So Dead Space 1 had a lot of jump scares. And that was what made, it scared the crap out of me because you turn a corner and they pop out of like an air duct or something. Or this big one would come chasing after you or something like that, which was crazy. But the second one was the one that scared me the most because now they got you kind of set up. It's kind of like a play action in football. You run, and then you run a play action. Well, you're always watching the run, but you're always watching for that big pass play. So in the second one, what they did was genius. They had one jump scare, and it was a prop. You hit a button, and a prop popped up and about scared the crap out of me because there wasn't any jump scares. But what they did was they made you so tense, and then they built this big environment that was just so eerie that you were always kind of expecting stuff to jump out at you. And it kind of never did. And so it built this tension. We talk about The Last of Us. But for The Last of Us, this game would make me set the controller down because of the environment. And it just scared the crap out of me. And Joe's right. I'd be playing at 2 o'clock in the morning and just jump up and throw the controller and just be like, I'm done. and just walk,
No.
And there was times I was like, screaming like a girl because it was scaring the crap out of me. So I had my innate fear of being stuck in space, which I never should have played the game. And then these things, and these brutal deaths that they put in there, which was terrible. Worst, probably some of the worst deaths I've ever seen. And it was just, it was just crazy. There was just one where I couldn't figure out how to get out the door. And I played it like 6 or 7 times, and this thing was chopping my head off and pulling my intestines out. And it was just every time. And at some point I had to set it down because it became so unnerving because I was just getting killed in so many gory, nasty ways that I could not play the game anymore. And I remember I didn't play for a week. I just couldn't figure it out. And finally I did. And I thought, well, crap, because it was something right there in front of me. Like most things are, I get stuck on. But yeah, that was that series. I can't, I didn't play 3, but 1 and 2 are just amazing as far as atmosphere and just being scary.
It got to a point where one night I was laying in bed or I was asleep and I was awoken to him going, "It's okay, you can come out."
No, that was for Halo. That wasn't for Dead Space. I played Halo for like 6 hours. And apparently I was dreaming about Halo and I saw a alien in the corner. And so I was on my knees going, "You can come out, little guy. You can come out, little guy," not knowing. And so I wake up the next morning and Joe was like, "What do you remember about last night?" And I was like, "Nothing. I was asleep." He goes, Nope, you wasn't."
Hey, so your story there reminded me that was one of the best parts about that basement sequence in The Last of Us, was that you've been taught the entire game, don't make any noise.
Yep.
Don't make any noise. Don't make any noise. Don't kick a bottle. Don't slip on a brick. Don't shoot a gun. Don't say a word. Don't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
And then you know what a generator does. You know the sound, but you have to do it or you're going to die in this basement. It was such a good, tense moment. It was just perfect. Bravo, Naughty Dog. Way to go. You did it.
I don't know if Visceral meant for Dead Space to do that as far as 2, but I don't remember. In the first one, that's all it was jump scares. And even in the reviews, they would say, "You know what? It's a scary atmosphere, but it's really the jump scares." They really lean on that, really. And I guess they took offense to that and was like, "All right, we're going to make this creepy, really creepy space station where you walk into the daycare and you see demon babies or whatever," and it just everything about it was just so creepy. And there was only one jump scare, and it was a prop, and it was almost like he was being trolled. Like Visceral was like, "Oh, you expecting a jump scare? Oh, it's just going to be like this flat prop that when you hit the button, it's going to pop up, and it's like a bear holding a lollipop, and it's something not to be scared about." So yeah, Andrew, it's like when they do that, you're just like, I'm not supposed to do this. You're setting me up, but I got to do it. And the whole time in Dead Space, you're thinking they're setting you up, and to be quite honest, they never do. And it just creates such a tension that it's just crazy. All right, so hopefully everybody has a happy Halloween, and I figured that would be good for the October. If you're looking for games to play, those are all great, tense, creepy games to play that we mentioned. So definitely go pick them up if you can.
Silent Hill 2 is another good one.
Which one?
Silent Hill 2 is still probably top of the genre.
Of course, Silent Hill. Yes, we get on
2.
Silent Hill 2. Silent Hill 2. Daniel, what's your subject tonight?
Okay, so my topic's got a little bit of a setup, and I apologize in advance, but you guys know I've been talking about
playing Mario 64. That's what you should do.
I'm sorry, Aaron. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to all of you. I'm sorry, Andrew. I'm sorry, Jared.
You should be.
I'm sorry to your wife, to all your wives. So you guys know.
I'll make sure to tell my future wife that you are sorry.
Yeah, that's going to be in your vows.
Daniel apologizes on October 1st, 2016 for not playing Mario 64.
All right. So mine, you all know I've been trying to get into The Witcher. I know I would love it. I just haven't been able to do it. I've started it a few times and never made it out of the first area, get into something else. Well, this last time I was like, maybe I should read up a little bit, kind of get for feeling for what the story is and all that. And then I found the books. And for anyone who doesn't know, the Witcher games are based on a set of Polish fantasy novels. And that's the world is based around. So I started I found a Reddit thread that had like a guide of like the order that you should read them and like where to find them. And of course they're almost all available on, in paperback or on Kindle or wherever. So I picked up the first one just to read it, just to get to know the characters a little bit, try to get sucked in the world. 2 weeks ago, I read through 4 of the books, I think out of the 6, and I'm like, they're excellent. They're really good. I am getting sucked into the world. I mean, I'm really excited to actually starting the game and kind of figure out what it's about. The only problem that I have now is that I've got 2 books left to read, I think. And now I'm like, well, I can't just jump into The Witcher 3. I have to play the first game and the second game. I can't just go into start playing 3. And so I've got this it'll probably take me another year just to start The Witcher 3 because I've got all this prep work apparently that I have to do. And I was just wondering if anybody else is as what's the word I'm looking for? As compulsive as I am when it comes to that, because I can't even something stupid as a sitcom. I can't, if I'm watching the show in order, I can't watch episode 23 if I haven't seen episode 22. No, I can't watch this because I haven't seen episode 22. It doesn't matter. And I was just wondering if you all are like that or if that's just me.
Go ahead, Andrew.
Well, first of all, forget all this business and just go play Mario 64. Solve all your problems.
Well, see, then I have to play Mario 2, Mario 3, Mario the Lost.
Wait, are you admitting you've never played those? Because that is mine is
That's
big time points.
No, I have played them all.
Okay, that's good.
I was thinking when I saw your question, I was thinking, well, sometimes I am and sometimes I'm not, which means the answer is no because compulsive would mean I did it all the time. One of my favorite games ever, and I talked about this, I think 2 video game podcasts ago, was Knights of the Old Republic 2, which I played out of order. I played it before the first one, which is probably the biggest reason why I like the second one more. And that's like a direct sequel, or not direct sequel, but it definitely takes place after the events of 1 and plays on the events of 1 quite a bit. Looking back, I wish I'd played them in order, but I didn't have this compulsion to, mostly because 2 was available to me for free and 1 wasn't. I did feel that compulsion for the Uncharted series, which that would be a good decision to do, and those are still good. Uncharted 1 is pretty bad. It has not aged well at all, but the other 2 and 3, and obviously 4 is great. 2 and 3 still hold up. I played those again, the remastered version over the summer. But the true answer to the question is no, but I do feel that tug once in a while, just depending on what the series is. I don't feel that compulsion with the Persona series. So there's that.
Yeah.
But
I guess I'm that way too with Persona, but I don't know. I was thinking about like Mass Effect. I've never finished the first one all the way through, but I played both 2 and 3. But I've watched but I know the entire story of the first one. I've watched YouTube videos that have the entire game. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, well, they had that opening comic for 2 that really did an incredible job of summing up.
That's true. That's true.
But I had that same experience. I did not finish 1 because I got rid of my Xbox, and then I played 2 on PS3, and then I played 3 on PS3. And I think after that, Mass Effect, which was published by Microsoft Studios, eventually did come to PS3, even though it wasn't originally. And when it did, I played through it. And boy, that's a bad game. The story's great, but the rest of it is just a glitch-filled mess. I think it's one of the only games released in the HD era that needs an HD remake. It needs a remaster, and there's a rumor floating around that they're looking hard at doing that because there's a good demand for it, so they're thinking hard about doing that. But anyway, it just depends for me. But yeah, I'm with you on Mass Effect.
I'm the same way as Daniel. I was glad that I found that the Final Fantasy games were not in order, because they're just kind of standalone titles. Because I remember I played 7, I got 8, and I was like, this has nothing to do with 7. What the heck are they doing? Because 7 was really the first Final Fantasy game I ever played. And then I found out, so that makes it easier for me to play like Persona 4. Like I don't feel like being compelled to get the story to go back and play Persona 3 or Persona 2 or whatever. Even though at this point I like Persona 4 so much, I probably will go back and play them at this point. I'm the same way, Daniel. I know that I did. I tried Assassin's Creed at number 2, which I didn't really like Assassin's Creed to begin with. But guy was like, "Oh no, you can play. Don't you just read up on it." I felt bad. Like I felt like I was like, I can't just play this. I got to go back and play the first one. Did the same thing with Uncharted. Played the first one. I'm working my way through the second one. Then the third HD release I'll play. But I'm with you. I got to play them in order. I'm the same way with comics. Like I have a stack of comics that is like 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. 7, 8, 14, 13, or 13, 14. And I can't bring myself to read those until I read the issues before. Because I guess it's one of those things that's just like, I want the whole story. Like I want to see the whole story. Like I don't want to feel like I skipped out or missed something that I would really like. So I'm the same way. Not so much with movies as much, but with comics and TV. Yeah, I have to read them in order. I can't, or I play them or read them in order. I can't skip around. So,
yeah, I guess it depends. It depends on how connected the worlds are. But I don't know. It's definitely with TV shows because you can't really miss a TV show unless it's like an 80s clip show.
Yeah.
But I do feel that with TV shows.
Yeah.
I don't even like. I started going back through The Office recently. Just I don't know, not like hardcore, but just kind of. I think a friend of mine just started watching, and so he's been retweeting a lot of Office quotes, and it kind of just got me in that mode of thinking of wanting to watch them again. And so I was starting to watch one, and my wife was like, well, can we watch a funny one? And I was like, and to me they're all funny, but I know what she means, like they're funnier episodes. And I was like, I'd rather watch it in order. And she was like, well, I'd rather watch a funnier one. So I went and found the one where Andy punches a hole in the wall and showed her that one. But I have basically what we're finding here is that we have a fear of missing out. We're FOMOs.
Yep.
That's my problem with TV stuff, especially, is I'm just afraid I'm going to miss something. I'll miss an inside joke. I won't understand something that I should have understood, and I would understand if I just go back and watch the old episodes.
Yeah, and I think another one, fear of missing out and a fear of being like spoiled almost, right? I mean, like I don't want.
A little bit.
Yeah,
especially nowadays, man. I remember I was watching. I don't watch the wrestling pay-per-views until I can sit down and watch it. So if we're doing a podcast on Sunday night, I won't watch it till Monday. Or I won't watch it late Sunday. But every so often I forget that the internet spoils crap, and I'm signed on the site's Twitter, and I follow a bunch of wrestling podcasts and stuff, and I'll ruin something for me on accident. I think it takes more. I think Andrew hit it on the head, is that you're afraid you're going to miss something and somebody's going to spoil you. And that sucks, kind of. When we were kids, we would actively have to go hunt to be spoiled instead of just getting on Twitter and be like, oh, crap, somebody just spoiled the end of that game for me or whatever. I had my cousin come over. He had just played Arkham Knight, and I had not played it. I hadn't all the way through, and he's just babbling on about Arkham Knight. And finally, I just be like, I got to leave the room. Like, I can't. Like, I haven't got the. I don't even know how you have enough time to get that far right now. I've got to step away because I don't want to, be spoiled. But I think that's part of it, Andrew, just because we don't want to miss something.
Yeah, for sure.
Joe, what about you, man?
I think movies more so than video games. I think it dates back to like playing like the second Resident Evil or something before I played the other ones. It don't really bother me as bad unless it's like a continued story. Like that's when it kind of bothers me.
Like I tried, like Metal Gear Solid, I was wanting to play the last part of it, and I tried to go back, and that's such a convoluted storyline that I knew I couldn't pick it up at 5. And then I remembered I hated those games when I started playing the older one. I was like, I don't think I'm gonna like these games.
No, I played the older games, and I still don't think I get 5. It's like I don't know. I played halfway through. I'm like, what's going on? Like, where am I? But
either love or hate those games. Like those games are just so far out in left field. I have no clue what's going on.
Like I think there's some series where it doesn't matter. Like the Fable series, I don't think it really matters. There's some characters like you have like the one character Teresa that's in all 3 of them. So if you jump in on the 3rd one, you're like, who's this old woman telling me what to do, or trying to give me like life lessons. But then you can go back and just play one, and you find out who it is. But the stories don't really go together. Like it's just one character that jumps out in each one of them. But no, I think I can play video games out of order. Movies, no.
Yeah, Joe's more of a. And books, you can't do that with books either. I noticed.
Can't do with books either.
Yeah.
Like I have to. Well, I've done it one time with a book, and I didn't know it was a series, and I felt it was really cool. It was called "Still Laugh with Crows," and it was a Preston's Child, and it was a Child and Lincoln book. It was their Pentercast series. And it's like the 5th book in the series, and I didn't know it, and I read it, and then I figured out it was the 5th because you kind of got the feeling you knew what was going on, but you knew there was more. And I'm like, this has to be like a series of books, and I looked it up, and it's the 5th one, and like books of like 7 that they're on. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to go back and read these now.
I got so bad with before Secret Wars, Marvel's big kind of universe spanning thing. I actually spent a lot of money going back and actually putting things together as far as orders. And so I ordered a bunch of trades. Okay, I found a site that was pretty cheap, and I would put I'd have them in stacks and be like, okay, this goes here, this has to be read here, and this has to be read here. And I remember one day I had them all spread on the floor, and my wife come in and be like, what are you doing? I was like, I'm just trying to get them in the right order. Just trying to, it was like a very sad version of The Beautiful Mind or whatever, Here's this dude sitting in the middle of the floor with a bunch of comic trades. They're all mixed up in the order I have to read them in, and it was crazy. It was good, though. Like, that's one of the best stories I ever read, but it just took me a while to get everything in order. So, all right, man. Good topic, Daniel. That's something that's I never thought about before. But once as soon as you text it to me, I was like, me too. Oh my god. So it was.
Well, I'll let you know how it goes. I'm about finished with the books, and I actually owned both the first 2 games on PC. So we'll see next podcast. We'll see where I'm at.
And those games are long, Daniel. You know that, right?
Yes. And
I played the first 2.
I'm really considering just modding them, like with a God mode or something like that, just for the story, just so I can play through and enjoy it.
Dude,
But
you read the books. Just go, man. Just play 3 and be done with it.
No,
I want to know what happened in the first 2.
You read the books.
But the games are a continuation of the books.
Excuses.
You have
and
to
I still might. I still might. I'm just telling you. The point is, I have this compulsion to play the games.
Daniel,
I'm telling you to overcome it.
Don't use the game genie, okay? Don't use the game genie. Just do it yourself, man. You'll regret it. Don't use the game genie.
Daniel, I'm telling you, you have to play the first 2 games to play the 3rd one. Because if you don't, like, the storyline's gonna be like, well, I guess you have to play them. But then again, I guess you wouldn't have to, because it would be a good first game too, like the storyline that's in it. But then you're like, but no, play the first 2. Play the first.
Or you could be, like, I play the last one and I'll act like the other ones are prequels and do it that way.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, there you go.
That's not a bad idea.
I mean, I started playing 3 a few months ago, and same thing happened to me. It happened to you. Just other stuff got in the way. But and by the way, it's going to happen to you because we're about to talk about what's coming by the end of the year. But,
that's true.
Great segue.
But, I didn't feel like I was lost. I sure didn't know what was going on, like combat wise and stuff. But I sure didn't feel like I was clueless to the situation.
If you want to find out how clueless you are on the combat, go play the first 2 that's on the PC, because you're gonna be like, oh my god, what is going on?
Well, I can tell you that from the books, like from what little I know of the 3rd game, like the books have made it, like, I don't know, it enriches what I know of the game so far. Like, I understand what's going on, what I've done in the game. I'm like, okay, well, all this makes sense, and who these people are, and who these territories are, and who's controlling what. And it's like, oh, okay, well, this makes sense now. I get it. So I don't know. We'll see how it goes.
You'll get lost in the game too. I mean, I played like 15 hours of the game and only played maybe 10 minutes of the main storyline.
Mm-hmm.
So get ready for that.
All right. And Andrew with a great segue there. Joe's topic. Go ahead and introduce your topic, Joe.
What game are you looking forward to the most in the fourth quarter
of 2016?
2016, yes. Go ahead, Andrew.
So for me, I've got a few that I'm looking forward to. Final Fantasy 15 looks good, but it's not my answer because I've not really. I guess I've never finished a Final Fantasy unless you count Bravely Default, and you should.
Yeah, I'll count that because that's basically a Final Fantasy game.
And that was good, but it looks good, but that's not, I guess, hugely on my radar like it is for some people. Last Guardian, I'm very excited for as well, but it's still not like my top because I'm just nervous about it because it's been in development so long. I just don't know.
But at least we've seen it now, right?
Yeah, I've got friends that are. It's not that I'm nervous that it won't come out. I'm just nervous about if it's going to be good.
Mm-hmm.
I've got friends that are way lower on it than I am. Like I think it's going to be okay. I think it'll probably range in the 8s at worst, and my friends say 7, like 7 at worst. But I think
not bad though.
Yeah, but it's not worth my time.
Not game has been in development for how many years now, though?
It's 10, but it's not worth my time in my life. By the way, I saw that it's ESRB rated now, so it's officially a game.
It is official.
But I saw where it got it's rated T for teen, and somebody said, "Well, it's actually old enough almost to play itself now." So that's good. But anyway, I'm nervous about it, so I'm trying to temper my excitement. Even though Shadow of the Colossus is probably in my top 3, top 5, top 7 at worst favorite games all time. So I'm going to go with Gravity Rush 2, which is I still. Because it's one of those great hidden gems on the Vita that I tell people to play all the time and no one ever does. And so I'm really looking for. I played it again it's one of those that I have 2 platinums on because it was on Vita and I got it and I platinumed. I actually did everything you have to do for the platinum twice on Vita, even though I only got the platinum once. And then I did it again on the remaster that came out earlier this year on PS4. It's just really fun. It's very, very unique. There's not a game that has combats quite like that. It's not that it's complicated combat. It's just fun. You're flying around. You might get a little vertigo while you're playing. It's pretty cool just to kind of bounce around and do everything that game allows you to do just because it's such a unique system, I guess. So, and even though the story's bad and it's kind of hammy and cheesy and whatever else, I still quite like it.
Daniel, what about you, man?
Well, I was sitting here before the show. I was like, definitely Gravity Rush for me. Nobody else is going to pick Gravity Rush. Nobody's going to do that. But
you forgot about me being on this week.
Exactly. We're basically have the same taste in games. But
you really only need me or Daniel on here, Aaron. It just depends on if you need Ghostbusters to be discussed or Mario 64.
That's true.
I'm with you, Andrew. I was thinking about, I'm not really all that excited for Final Fantasy. I mean, I'm sure I'll play it, but I haven't been excited for it. I'm the same way with The Last Guardian. Like, I'm sure it'll be good, but I'm not excited for it. And looking over the list, the game that really gets me excited is Gravity Rush 2. It looks beautiful. You can tell they've really upgraded. The PS4 does that game justice. And I'm with you. I love that game. I mean, it had its flaws, but the story was quirky and it was so much different than anything else. Still different than anything else that I've ever played. And looking over the list, I'm trying to think of, what am I going to play day one? What am I going to play the day it comes out? And I think that's probably the only game that I'm like, I'm playing this one the day it comes out. Like, I'm going to buy that right away. So I'm excited about Gravity Rush 2.
Joe, what about you, man?
Well, if that's your answer, I'll just throw out a quick shout out for Pokemon Sun and Moon.
I figured that would be your one, to be quite honest.
No, I love Pokemon, but no. Gravity Rush.
Joe, what about you, man?
Ladies and gentlemen, after 6 long years, 3 years if you count the expansion pack, the best simulation game to ever be created is coming out with its 6th installment Civilization 6, October 21st. I'm so excited about this game because they have done so much to it, and I am just pumped up. I'm ready to take the civilization that I want to take and build them into this massive power and either take on the world or kill everybody with science. I'm ready for it.
Civ is one of those games that I know I would love, but I just never had a PC that could run it.
Oh God, dude! And it's one of those games like I can remember like we started like we got it when it first came out, and then we got the expansion packs and we started playing again, and then we kind of went off of Civ 5 and then recently like maybe halfway through this summer we started playing it again, and it's one of those games where like I got to work at 10 o'clock in the morning. Let me play like 2 more turns. 2 turns go into 300 turns. And it's like 4 o'clock in the morning. And you're like, God, I got to go to bed. But they're just it's one of my favorite game series. I love it. Like I've always been a big turn-based sim game type of person. We used to play, what was it? Lord of the Rings, Battle for Middle-earth 2, all through high school. Online, we used to play it, and with 2 of my friends online, and they would be like the elves and the dwarves, and they would just attack the enemies in like little like small packs, and then I would have this like massive, and I was always red because you could see this massive army of red just like come over the map, and it was like took up half the map because I would have so many troops that I would just build up, and that's how I do in like Civ. Like I have so many troops built up in Civ that at any one point in time in the game, I can just take over everybody. Like it's not funny, but yeah, I love these games.
I would be terrible at Civ. I'm just not patient enough for strategy games. Looking at this list, there's a lot of good stuff on there that the more, like if you would have asked me at the first of the year, I'd be like, oh, I'm really stoked about that. But the more I see stuff start coming out, I'm like, I'm not really excited for it anymore. For example, WB 2K17. I always get overexcited for those games. About mid-year when they start showing all this stuff and they release all the wrestlers and stuff. And then you look at it like, man, they just don't have that story mode in there. And then something I loved in 2013 was like create your own story. So that kind of bummed me out. I may still get it, but
you'll get it.
We'll have to see what the reviews are. But I usually get stoked about that, and also stoked the closer it gets. One of the games that's intriguing to me, I just watched the trailer for, was Dragon Ball Z Xenoverse 2. The first one got mixed reviews, but the second one looks really good. At least from the stuff that you can do on it. I'm stoked for the return to Arkham, which is the HD remakes for the Batman Arkham series. I have a feeling that's going to be a dumpster fire because they've had to push it back so much. But I'm really kind of stoked to get those back in my collection because I really like them. But I want to be the guy that's going to, make the. I think there's some indies titles, like there's a game called Iconoclast that's supposed to come out this year, but it ain't out yet. I would love to see Hyperlife Drifter come out this year, but they have to redo it for the Vita, so that's not going to be out. The one I want to be the guy, Final Fantasy 15, I think is the one that I was kind of disappointed it got pushed back because it's supposed to be out last month. It's got pushed back. The more I see of that gameplay, man, the more it's starting to kind of live up to the hype a little bit. I remember they showed a boss fight, and they was talking about how you can use the environment with your spells. And I remember they had spilled like gasoline or something on accident, and you're not supposed to do it, but you can use it if you do it. And then you can throw fire on top of it with a fire spell. And I thought that was just a really cool concept. Like you use the environment with the spells that you have, and I've never seen. As far as Final Fantasy, that's something new to me because I haven't played any of the newer ones on the set. So the more I see of that game, the more, and I think we're all kind of thirsty for a really good RPG in this next generation, and I hope that's the one. It looks really good. The more it comes out, the more excited I get about it. So yeah, I'm going to be that guy that says the obvious, I'm going to say Final Fantasy 15 because that game looks really neat.
Aaron, we've already had a really good RPG this generation. It's known as Witcher 3, and we literally talked about it 15 minutes ago.
No, I'm not. I don't know, man. I just don't like
JRPG. How about that?
Yeah, I actually played the new Tales game. I really like. I'm about halfway through. I really like that RPG. I'm more of a straight up JRPG guy now. I mean, I just like the colorfulness and stuff of it, but.
That's okay. I'm just giving you a hard time. I'm on board. I want Final Fantasy to be good too.
I mean, I look at The Witcher and I break out in hives because I'm just like, I'll never finish that game.
And now,
Like,
I told you that there's like 6 amazing books
yeah,
that you
right.
can
I
read.
would have
and
to
make it all
read.
look
I would have to
great.
read the books, Daniel. So that totally
Guys,
throws that out of there.
But The Witcher is a great RPG. But Skyrim is still the best of the generation.
We're not even going to get into that conversation,
let you
Joe.
know.
This podcast is already a
Just to
minute
let you
24.
know.
We're not getting into that.
It's a minute. It's a minute 24. We have plenty of time then.
Oh, I'm sorry, an hour 24. I'm sorry. We're not getting into this, Joe. No, maybe another one that we can have a whole.
Hey, I'm gonna let you finish.
We may have
I'm
a
gonna
whole
let you
podcast
finish.
ranking the 50 best RPGs.
Taylor,
and
I'm gonna
just
let
be
you finish.
5
Taylor.
hours long.
But Beyonce had the best video game ever in Skyrim.
All right, Yeti West.
I will say this.
The Skyrim remaster is coming out this year.
It is coming out this year, yeah. I have no interest in it.
I have plenty of mods on my computer that makes it probably look better than what it will on the PS4. But
here comes you hear that? You hear that? There's that PC elitism.
I will say this. The game that I am looking forward to on a console is Dishonored 2. I will put my console pick on there. So
that's a day one pick for you, right?
I would be probably a day one pickup. I mean, Civilization 6 is a day one pickup for me too, but Dishonored 2 would be the one that would make me start playing Civ 6 and play a console game.
Don't forget about the last Wii U title. We got Paper Mario coming out. Looks pretty neat. But I say the last Wii U because I think that is literally the last Wii U release minus Zelda next year. So, Nintendo keep it strong, baby.
Speaking of which, weren't we promised NX news into September?
I thought so. Funny thing is,
today's October 1st.
Yeah, right. I was on a forum, and I don't know if I believe this guy or not, but apparently he has a guy that he knows in Nintendo. And again, it's one of those things. It's like you'll believe anything because you really want to hear news about it. The theme continues to grow over this podcast. But he said that he had a friend that apparently has intimate knowledge that it should be soon, probably sooner than what we thought it was going to be as far as news wise. So who knows?
Well, in Japan, September has 35 days.
Oh man! All right, man. It's been a good podcast. Thank you guys for taking the time out to come and talk a little bit about some video games. And hope you guys enjoy. If it's your first episode, don't forget to go subscribe. If you like us, if you don't have to. Hopefully, this is not your last episode, but if it's your first. And we'll be doing some different stuff here. We do a topic every week if this is your first episode. So video games. Next week, I believe, is movies and TV and comic books. So please come back and talk to us about that. Daniel, you got a very complex look on your face. Are you okay?
Oh, yeah, I'm good. I'm good. Okay. I'm sorry.
He's thinking about The Witcher. He's like, man, what? Oh man, what am I?
He's debating whether The Witcher is better than Skyrim, but it's not.
The internal debate just rages on.
Oh man.
I mean, it's pretty hard that you put out one awesome RPG and probably the best RPG in Oblivion, and then you put out another one in Skyrim that tops that one. So I mean, yeah.
I won't cut Joe off right there. So thank you guys for listening. So go if you have any listener questions, please send it to monstersofgeek@gmail.com. We got a great listener question from our wrestling episode. We'd love to be able to do some Q&A at the end of these episodes, and you guys give us some topics that you guys maybe want us to touch on. So it's monstersofgeek@gmail.com. And for Andrew and Daniel and Yeti, that will be it, and we are out.
Play Mario 64.
You can turn dragons into Macho Man.